Thank you, Jordy, and thanks everyone. So, hey, my name is benahouser. I'm from the state of Georgia in the United States. I actually grew up in a monolingual household, but I decided to learn a bunch of different languages. So I know Spanish and Portuguese. I actually interpret in those languages, and I lived in Brazil for about a year and a half. For Spanish, I'm a CHI Spanish, which means I'm a nationally certified healthcare interpreter. I also know Japanese because I love manga and anime. I'm a huge nerd there. And I've been practicing American Sign Language and Italian, and those are conversational level right now. I also have a multilingual interview series. It's basically like a podcast where I talk with interesting people in their native language about all kinds of topics. You can find that on YouTube under the channel benahouser. And I actually began learning all kinds of different languages just by chatting with people online. There's this one platform I use, and it's still up now. It's called languageexchanges.org. There's a hyphen in the middle. It's basically, you meet someone who's learning your language and you just chat on Skype or something like that. 30 minutes in English, 30 minutes in Portuguese or Japanese. And I do that all the time. So all that to say is I love learning languages and cultures and just meeting people all over the place. But today I'll be presenting on something that's a little different. Instead of being something in a far off land, it's closer to home. And that is Black English. So as the name implies, Black English is the way in which Black people in the United States speak English. And today I'll explain that maybe it's not quite that simple. So what do you call it? You call it Black English, African American Vernacular English, or AAVE. Just broken English, or is it Ebonics? So I'm going to go over each of these terms. These are words that people use to refer to this form of speech. So Black English, I think, is a pretty good term. It's pretty simple, Black English. Then you got African American Vernacular English, if you're a bit more scientific, speaking with a linguist or someone. And then you have broken English. Is Black English just broken English? I say no, because actually it has its own grammar, its own system. It's not just a random, I'm just going to say whatever I want. There's rules. And let me go closer into those rules right now. So here's a grammatical sentence in Black English, and I'll read it to you now. So the sentence is, man, he always be forgetting what I said, even though I've been done told him 1,000 times. Right? So there's a couple of things here. So the first part, he always be forgetting. Man, he always be forgetting. The be here is a habitual be. And that basically means like he forgot this time, he forgot last time, he's always gonna forget. He always be forgetting. And he ain't gonna remember. And in the case of the second part, we have even though I've been done told him 1,000 times, in my opinion, I've been done told him is used to kind of exaggerate a little bit. It's like in the past, right? So I've been done told him. I told him already. Like it's also an exacerbated. Sorry, You're kind of exhausted when you say it. You're like, oh, I already told him. So he always be forgetting what I said, even though I've been done told him 1,000 times. Now, actually, it's interesting because I spoke to a friend of mine when I was in high school. She kept complaining like, why do people keep saying he be doing this, he be doing that? That's just wrong. That's bad grammar. And I talked to my teacher about it, and she said it's really there's a difference between descriptive language and prescriptive language. So prescriptive language is when you basically look in the dictionary and say, oh, this is how you say this, this is how you're supposed to speak, and you tell everyone, okay, you have to speak this way. But descriptive language is when you observe how people are actually communicating as opposed to telling them what to do. And the truth is that many Black people speak this way, and the habitual be is something that is constant throughout the United States. Like many people use this. So one thing I want to draw attention to is you guys may have noticed I changed my intonation and just the way I was speaking while I read this phrase. And so, yeah, it's very important that you use the right intonation because if I say, you know, he always be forgetting what I said, even though I've been done told him 1,000 times, it just sounds wrong. Like it's not really, I don't think that you would be clear on what you're saying to someone if you use like a more standard American accent. And so what that means is there's kind of like a set of cadences and rhythms and accents that you use when you're speaking in a standard American accent. And there's certain cadence and rhythm and just body language and everything that you use when you're speaking in Black English. And when you use those kind of markers, that indicates to the listener, right now he's speaking Black English, or right now he's speaking standard American English. And this is really important when it comes to code switching, which is basically the idea of switching between different like languages or dialects. People do it all the time when it's, for example, someone who grew up in a Spanish-speaking household in the United States. They might switch between Spanish and English with their family members. They might speak Spanglish, right? So the same thing applies to Black English. And we do it all the time, depending on, we're speaking to someone in a more formal setting, or, I meet one of my cousins, I might speak a little bit more kind of Black English. Now, here's another example of the intonation. The word word. Obviously, the word word means, like, oh, the word bread, the word banana, the word food. But in Black English, you can also use it to mean like affirmative, or like, yeah, that's right, like word, that's what's up. It can also be a question, like word, like really, word. All right. So here's the other word that I said earlier in reference to what we can or cannot call Black English. So this is Dr. Robert Williams. He is a social psychologist. He actually coined the term Ebonics in 1973, and it's basically made up of two words: ebony, which means black, and then phonics, which means sound in terms of linguistics. And the reason he came up with this term was he actually is involved. He was involved in the what's it called? The co. He's involved in testing children, like cognitive testing, IQ testing, and he found that white kids were scoring a lot higher in their IQ tests than Black kids were. And that would imply that the Black kids are just innately smarter than the Black kids, which is just wrong. And so he looked deeper into it, and it turned out the test itself was utilizing more standard American English as opposed to using Black English. And so the Black kids that, at home, they speak Black English and they're more kind of accustomed to that, they're kind of at a disadvantage when taking these tests that aren't really supposed to test your linguistic abilities, but rather your understanding of certain concepts. So when he made those adjustments and was able to test Black kids in a language that they understood, we found that, okay, they're scoring just as well as the white kids. And so that's how the word Ebonics came about. But actually, nowadays, I don't really like using that term. Like, if someone were to come up to me and say, like, "Hey, do you speak Ebonics?" I'd be like, Are you joking? Are you kidding with me? Are you trying to mess with me?" Actually, this did happen one time. I told you guys I do language exchanges all the time when I was probably about like 16, 17. I did a language exchange with this one Brazilian guy where he reached out to me, and he was excited. He was like, "Brother, like, you got to teach me Ebonics." I was like, "Okay." I mean, like, really? You gonna say Ebonics? I remember talking to my dad about it at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know about this guy, but he was a good language partner." I just had to teach him, like, "Yeah, we don't really use that word. It's got a different connotation now." But very grateful for Dr. Robert Williams and his contribution to cognitive testing. Anyway, so moving on, we've got who uses Black English? So Black English honestly is used by all kinds of people. It's not only Black people that use it. In fact, English, like American English, is widely affected by Black English across the board. And there's definitely people from all different ethnicities in America who use it, at least in part, or even fully. Um, and there's even white people that they just speak Black English. And at this point in the presentation, you might be wondering, like, wait a minute, Ben, like, you're Black. Are you speaking Black English right now? And the answer is, I mean, like, yes and no, but mostly no, because Black English is a spectrum. And typically, you'll catch me speaking somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. So, like, if Standard English is on one side and Black English is on the other side, like, I mean, like the extremes of each are on each side. I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle, fluctuating at all times. And it really depends on the circumstances, what the circumstances require, who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to I said earlier, if I'm talking to my cousins, or if I'm walking down the street, meet somebody, there's certain cues that might happen. Like I might hear, oh, they're speaking more this way, so I'll just speak that way because it'll just be easier for us to communicate. And again, that's the idea of code switching. And also, Black English varies by region. You know, last time I was in Georgetown, South Carolina, which is where I was born, I noticed some of my relatives, they use a grammar that's just very, very different from what I'm used to. For instance, they use a different pronoun. Instead of they would use them. And again, like that's not broken English. That's just the system that they use within that region. So moving on. So when I was a kid, I used to be called an Oreo sometimes. And for those of you who don't know what that means, when they're calling you an Oreo, they're basically saying you're Black on the outside and you're white on the inside. It's messed up and it's wrong. And I'll tell you for two reasons why it's wrong. So the first reason is it kind of implies that standard English or standard American culture is equal to white English or white culture. But kind of like I was saying before, like standard American English doesn't belong to white people. So if I speak that way, I'm not like borrowing something from white people. It's all of our language, you know? American English is my language, and so is Black English. And if I'm speaking more standard English, that doesn't make me more white, and it doesn't make me more Black to speak more Black English. I mean, I'm Black. So, and yeah, the second reason why it's wrong to call someone an Oreo would be, again, based on that original falsehood that, you know, standard English equals white English. It kind of discourages us from like expressing ourselves in whatever kind of way that we want to in any given moment. That that freedom to code switch and just kind of delve into whichever part of my like language that I want to. It's kind of limiting when you're afraid of, oh, and like I don't want this person to think that I'm white, so I gotta act more Black. It's like, what is that? Like acting Black? No, I am Black. I don't have to worry about that. Just be yourself. So yeah, actually, a few months ago, I actually ran into this lady at the grocery store, and she was soliciting to braid my hair, and I was like, you know what? I politely declined, and I don't know what I said, but she responded, "You whitewashed, ain't you? You whitewashed, ain't you?" I didn't say anything to it, but I guess she didn't understand. She thought I didn't understand her, and so she explained, "Oh, you hang out with a lot of white people, don't you?" And I was finally able to escape, and but the damage was done. She already said it. She judged me for my appearances, my way of talking, and that term "whitewashed" it actually doesn't have that meaning, or at least the way that I understand the word whitewashed, it should mean typically in a filmic sense, like when you have a movie uh, that where the role is supposed to be a Black person or a person of color, maybe Latin American, Indigenous, Asian, but they always cast a white person. That's whitewashing. But in recent years, I've heard people start using the term like, oh, you act like a Caucasian. You lost your Black card. And I'm just gonna say I don't agree with it, but this is, I guess, how language changes. But it's just the same way as when they used to call me an Oreo as a kid. And Again, it's totally wrong. And sadly, even Black people, some Black people use this term. In fact, the people who've called me that were Black too. And it just kind of reinforces that fact, that idea that like some people feel like you just have to behave the same way at all times. Like I'm not a walking stereotype, but I can't live in a single box all the time, one way or the other. But actually, there's many benefits to code switching that people should embrace instead of feeling like they should be on one side or the other at all times. And for instance, I had a phone sales job. It was a sales job at the summer after I graduated high school. And I got off one of the calls, put the phone down, and one of my colleagues, he was like, "Man, like I wish I could talk like you." Like he's basically saying, like, I wish that I could speak like the standard English a little bit more so that I could relate more with the customers. And that was kind of like a benefit of it. But I was thinking to myself, like, no, I mean, like, if anything, you have an advantage as well because you can communicate really well with the Black customers. And now I'll share a time when code switching kind of backfired on me. So also in high school, I was sitting with a classmate, just having lunch in the cafeteria, and he, for whatever reason, that day decided to turn around and point out to me. He was like, "Do you see those guys over there?" He's pointing to a group of Black kids. They're just eating lunch and having a good time. And he's like, "You see those guys over there? Those guys are niggers. But you and our friend over here, you guys are Black." And it was like this revelation in his mind. He's like, how am I gonna figure out like how to? I don't understand. Like, why do I get along with this person, but I don't like these people? I just figured it out. This is the category. This is the hierarchy. I figured out how to classify these people. It makes sense now. But it's really unfortunate, and I genuinely believe he did not have bad intentions when he said it, but just what he said was coded and coded in so many levels of racism. Um, but just because of the way that I speak, I guess like he felt comfortable enough even to say that to me. And like it was kind of like when I speak in a more standard American like dialect, it kind of opens that door to where it's like, oh, like I can be comfortable around you, and this is like an opportunity to meet someone and get to know them. He probably thought that that's why, like because I act that way, is the reason why we could be friends. But the truth is, if you got to know any other Black person, like if you wait and get to know someone, then you'll be able to be friends with them as well. Um, and now I'm going to explain to you guys a little bit about the word that I just used, the N word. Please do not use it unless you're an interpreter right now. You kind of have no choice. So good luck with that. And so there's two main ways to say the N word. One is with a hard R, and one is without. So with the hard R, that's the word that my classmate had said. It is nigger. It's an extremely offensive word. It gives the idea of like superiority. It kind of like brings you back to like slavery times. Like, oh, you're like on the plantation, like telling them what to do. I really don't like that word. Now, the other word is nigga. You should also not use that word, by the way. It's typically used among like Black people. You might hear it in music. Um, when people are just like, hanging out or even being kind of jovial or friendly, they could even use it. They might use it in more serious situations. But yeah, this is not me giving you guys the N-word pass. Of course, for the interpreters right now, you kind of have to use it because I just did. So good luck. Now, I'm going to tell you about this one time I was paired with the school bully, like the guy who everyone knows is the bully. He was also very comfortable with me and felt that he could share like, man, I just think that we shouldn't have Black History Month. Like, why are we wasting a whole month on this? And again, it's because like the way that I presented myself and spoke it opens that door to where he feels so comfortable to be able to say that. So these are just things I noticed. Another friend of mine said something like, "Oh, like I've never met a Black person like you," and and my other friend. And I thought to myself, yeah, but like, how many Black people have you met? It's sort of like I may communicate in a more standard English, but I just want people to know, like, other Black people are cool too. Like, we're all the same. You just got to get to know them. And I actually socialize with a lot of non-native speakers of English here in Atlanta, and most of them tell me like, man, like Black people are the hardest to understand. Well, yeah, I guess it is kind of like another language. So anyway, in uh, summary, the Black English is a very unique and rich dialect of American English that heavily, heavily influences how English is spoken throughout the country. Yes, there is some social stigma surrounding the way Black people speak, but it's a beautiful and nuanced form of American English that ought to be studied a lot more. And just a disclaimer, this is my personal take on Black English. If anybody else has like another idea on it, I think this video is going to be on YouTube, so make sure you comment and subscribe and all that stuff. And I have one more phrase in Black English that my dad used to say all the time. So my mom walks into the room and she's like, "Hey guys, what do you want for dinner?" My dad would reply, "Don't make me no never mind. Don't make me no never mind," which basically means like, hey, whatever's clever. Like uh, whatever's clever, or either way, doesn't really matter. So don't make me no never mind. I guess if I try to like translate it literally, it's like it doesn't make me no mind. It doesn't make me. Yeah, it's hard to translate that last bit, but yeah, it's a fun expression. I also want to mention, so for those of you who don't know, American Sign Language is the sign language spoken in the United States, and every country has its own different sign language. Within American Sign Language, there's also Black American Sign Language, BASL, as these fingers are spelling right here. And it also, similar to Black English, has similar roots. It was originally created, or I guess it came about during segregation. So like Black schools and white schools. There's also Black deaf schools and Black white schools. Sorry, deaf white schools. Is that what I said? Um, and yeah, the Black students would sign a certain way, and that's kind of carried on even now. There's this Black American Sign Language. Again, kind of similarly, not every Black person uses this, but it's just another amazing thing that I kind of learned a little bit about and want to study more. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks, guys.